What watching porn does to you, and you might not even relate back to porn use. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. Let me tell you about it. And you might want to get a cup of coffee for this video because the list is long, but I will go through it efficiently. Okay, first we're going to talk about the list, and it's long. Secondly, we are going to discuss what is going on in your brain when you are being impacted in all these different ways. Your thoughts, the way that you act, your behavior, the way you feel, your emotions, physically what's happening with you, how you interact with the world, how you socialize. It is mind-blowing. Then we're going to discuss how you can break this cycle, break free from porn use, get on purpose in your life, get re-engaged so you can evolve into your full potential. Because let me tell you what's waiting there. Happiness, not the never-ending search for pleasure. Happiness is at the end of that rainbow. So stay with me until the end so that we can talk about how we can get you there. Okay, let's dig in, and I'm going to have to pull up my list so I don't miss anything because, like I said, it's comprehensive. Okay, so number one, some people talk about these as the side effects of porn use. What I'm going to do first is talk about, how it impacts your behavior, side effects, things that will impact you that you might not even know. Then I'm going to talk about how it can escalate into other sexual acting out behaviors. And honestly, some of them can come before or hand in hand with porn use, but they're reinforcing each other. So we'll get there in a minute. First of all, general malaise, just the general feeling of yuckiness. So if you don't feel good, if you feel like you're at 40% capacity on a day-to-day basis, the screen will do that to you. And people don't feel that great. And they don't realize the reason you don't feel that good, mentally you have brain fog, physically you're tired and lethargic, and you just don't want to go into the world and embrace it, that comes from porn use. General malaise, guilt and shame. We've talked about this one a lot. The feelings of guilt can be motivating. The feelings of shame bring you back to the screen. But either way, those are not the feelings of dignity and integrity that you can have when you're on purpose. When you're rocking out your best work, or at least you're at a job that makes you money and gives you some fulfillment, when you are with a partner you actually like, and when you dedicate some time to your hobbies, dignity, integrity, you hold your head high, you can feel good. Secretiveness. I just made a video on this. When you're keeping secrets and compartmentalizing your life, you can't be at your full potential. Brain fog, memory and concentration issues, anxiety, difficulty focusing, depression, moodiness, irritability, anger. All of these are scientifically proven to be worsened or to be created from porn consumption. Distorted view of reality. Now we know another side effect is that all of reality becomes distorted, but a 2015 study shows that men in particular have worsened body images and think of themselves as less fit and less muscular. So that body image and self-esteem and distorted reality can really come from watching these fake interactions on videos of people who don't even want to be there. And it's not real, but it distorts your perception of reality. And I've made videos on that. Desensitization of your brain. And to me, this is probably one of the more important side effects because the reward center in your midbrain is essentially being fried out. The D2 dopamine receptors are no longer working properly, plus you're flooding your brain with dopamine, which puts you into this couch mode, numbed out mode for the moment or for a little while after, but then your brain swings in the opposite direction and it gives you more anxiety and the cycle never ends, the proverbial downward spiral. Okay, need for higher levels of stimulation to become aroused. So we know this leads to erectile dysfunction. We also know that many people no longer get excited about being with their partner, and then shock me, their partners don't want to be with them, right? Because this dynamic is thrown off. We know that when porn use is in the mix, that breakups are 2 times as likely, divorce is 2 times as likely, and it's because these dynamics are thrown off. You're no longer attracted to your partner because you've coupled your brain to the artificial aspects of sexuality and bodies that you see on the screen, so your partner is no longer arousing. At the same time, you have your own body images and you're looking at sexuality as a performance instead of a shared experience. It throws off the dynamics. And then what happens is partners want to be with you. I've had this conversation 10 times this week. Your partner likely wants to be with you, but it's so messed up from watching the screen that it's lost its thunder. And I joked with a few people this week that instead your partners are reading spite books or they're watching TV for spite because they actually would love to be with you. But when they're with you, it is you trying to perform what you've seen instead of you wanting to be with them. But you can't see it. This is the side effect of porn use. So when you stop using porn and you rewire your brain for healthy sexuality, and now you want to be with your partner, then you get back to healthy sexuality, and maybe you text out on a group text like my husband just did, texted out that, thankfully he texted that, "You are so beautiful." Unfortunately, that was on a group text with all of our friends, and it's cute. Of course I texted him back, "Group text, babe," with that gritty teeth emoji, but it's so sweet. Anyways, you can get there, a partner that you love, healthy sexuality, intimacy, wanting to be with each other. Okay, back to the list. Delayed ejaculation. So if your brain needs this massive amount of stimulation, it takes you a long time to get there when you're with your partner, especially. Your brain can probably get there with all that heightened stimulation, or you may find that you need to go to more intense videos. And we've talked about this before. You have to increase that intensity to get the same level of arousal, or it'll take you a really long time to be able to get there to full arousal so that you can ejaculate. Lowered libido in the world, and that's definitely a withdrawal symptom. When you come out of all this stimulation, your brain's dopamine levels dip low and your cortisol goes high and your sexuality kind of tanks. But that can happen too within the cycle, especially if you're trying to be with your partner. Impaired judgment. This one's wild, and we know that the frontal lobe is dropped out in activation. So not only does it give you brain fog and make it difficult to focus and to remember and to concentrate, it decreases your executive function skills, which is planning, organization, being able to be your best at work. It also impairs your judgment. And so then you do things that you probably wouldn't really do if your brain wasn't constantly in this vicious cycle. And so that might be more sexual acting out behaviors that we're going to talk about in a second. It might be strange risk taking. It might be saying weird things. It might be inappropriate social interactions. Your ability to gauge yourself and regulate your own behaviors goes down. Fixations on certain body parts. We've discussed this in the video on checking people out. When you watch particular body parts and you find them highly arousing in the video, your brain gets coupled to that body part. So every time you see that body part, your brain gets a hit of dopamine hits. That's what this whole thing is about. So when you are out in the world and you're with your family at Disney World and people walk past you and you see the body part that gives your brain the dopamine hit, you can't help but look at it because your brain wants the hit. Your brain's been coupled to that body part. So even at times when you don't want to be checking people out, your brain needs it. And I'll tell you, it especially needs it at Disney World. If you've ever brought your family of 5 young children and your 75-year-old parents to Disney World, like I have, your brain is looking for dopamine hits. Let me tell you that. So your brain's going to be looking even more for it. It needs it to be able to get through Disney World. Thankfully, my husband and I found those in some cocktails by the pool while everybody napped every day so that we can get a little time to just chill out from managing everybody. But your brain's looking for it in the times when you're in the real world that are most difficult for you. So, if you're out with your family, that can be challenging and your brain's looking for a hit. But you get the point. Okay, so moving on to fetishes. And I'm going to talk about this in the acting out behaviors, is that fetishes really are your brain has been coupled to a particular body part, a particular act, and it has become the number one thing for sexual arousal for you. Many times that comes out of some experience from childhood where very young you were aroused by seeing something or experiencing something when your brain was so young that it got this massive flood of dopamine and your brain's like, whoa, what is going on? And then your brain's like, that was awesome. I need more of that for the whole rest of my life. And especially if things are challenging, which we all know the human condition can be challenging, then your brain is looking for it. And again, it's a matter of coupling. And we know oxytocin is the neurotransmitter of coupling. Likely that's going on. Okay, we already talked about less attracted to your partner, relationship problems, major problem in relationships. Sexual template confusion that goes along with fetishes, but many people that I talk with, and we know now there's a new type of OCD, which of course is being labeled it without pornography being considered, but it is a same-sex attraction OCD, and many people's sexual arousal templates are confused because if you're a man and you're watching men who are being very manly and are arousing you, then your brain is being coupled to the arousal of the male body through that neurochemical release. It goes back to all those neurotransmitters flooding your brain when you're viewing the male in pornographic videos. Your brain sees it as an arousal mechanism because it's coupled to the neurotransmitters, and before you know it, you get aroused when you're looking at men. But that may not have happened if you weren't constantly going back to the screen and reinforcing the neural pathways for arousal to the same sex. And yes, it happens for women too, but men are the primary consumers of pornography at this point, and it's happening more and more for men. So it confuses your sexual arousal template. Some people think that some of the acts that they watch over and over and over, that becomes the only thing they want. But it's because your brain is coupled to it through neurotransmitters, not even really that you inherently think it's the best thing or that's the act that you want. It's all about the coupling. Okay, so now let's kind of talk about, we're going to segue into what some of these sexual acting out behaviors are. Rituals. You might ritualize your pornography habit, and we're going to talk about this in another video, but that ritual gets the dopamine going. That's a dopamine stream. When you have the idea that you're going to watch porn, your brain starts flowing with dopamine, which is why it's hard to leave even after you've had the thought. So the ritual becomes part of the acting out, and that is an important part for many people's brains. And it starts making your brain feel good about it minutes, hours, days before you do it. So think about your ritual and just know when your ritual starts, it's starting to flow in your brain. That has to be cut off and pattern interrupted. Staring at other people out in public, we already talked about that one. Compulsive masturbation. And I know I'm going to hear from some people that masturbation's a healthy habit. We're talking about compulsive masturbation. What we're talking about is the need to, not the desire to every once in a while you stay in your body. This is the need to do it on a daily basis, every other day, every 3 days, to regulate your mood, to de-stress yourself, or to make yourself feel okay enough to engage with the day. That is when it's a problem, and that's a major acting out behavior. That's why the NoFap community exists, so that people can back out that behavior, heal their brains, and move on with their best lives. If you've found yourself either asking your partner to do some of the things that you view regularly, or you find yourself doing those things even though you know those are things that your partner would not like, or that they are too intense or aggressive or even on the cusp of violence, then you know that you're beginning to act out what you see in the video, and that is a heightening of the sexual acts that go along with pornography consumption. Emotional affairs. So many people don't link this. So if you start emailing someone at work and you're married, this is you looking for dopamine hits. Your brain is going, my life at home is fine and I love my wife and she's great, but you know what? When I email Susie Q, my brain feels great. Just know that you are putting yourself at risk to keep going down the slippery slope, to keep the downward spiral going, because it is a ramping up of the sexual behaviors that come from pornography use, because your brain needs more dopamine. It's looking for it in the world. Social media misuse. This probably should have been at the beginning, but don't kid yourself. If you start leaving pornography behind and you now are on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, and you're still looking at images, it's part of the problem. Sexualizing everything. And I talk to a lot of people where they don't even realize they do it. And I urge you in this video, I encourage you to look to see if you're the person who's sexualizing everything, sexualizing the kitchen. You're out to dinner, you're making sex jokes with your friends, everything becomes sexual. That's because your brain's in a hypersexual mode, and that is not healthy. Someone told me last week, everybody thinks about sex 57,000 times a day. I'm like, no, not everybody, not healthy people. So you don't want to have those thoughts pop into your head and you then express them to other people. You want your brain to think about sex in a healthy way with your partner, not in a compulsive, hypersexual way. If you want to watch yourself, the old sex mirror, if you want to watch yourself having sex instead of experiencing it, it's because you've conditioned your brain to be an observer of the act, not a participant of the experience. So would you want a mirror to watch yourself eat dinner? No, because you're experiencing dinner. Hopefully you have a beautiful meal and you're eating it and you're enjoying the taste and the aroma. That is what it's about. Same thing with sex. You don't need a mirror to watch it. Keep your mind in it and experience it. Voyeurism, exhibitionism. So if you need to look at other people, if you need to show yourself to other people, this is another sexual acting out behavior. If you're using webcams, if you've gone from, let's just put it this way, if you've gone from watching videos that are not live and don't have any interaction to being on not social media, but on dating apps and using webcams for sex, anything that goes from consuming the video to interacting with another human being while doing it, you're ramping up the behavior. Your brain needs more dopamine and you really want to back out of that because it's not healthy. And it leads to hookups, prostitutes, and affairs if you are in a partnership, all of which can be devastating. Okay, so that's the list. Now, what's happening in your brain when this is going on? What's happening is your brain is going so fast in hyper-aroused mode, cranking with fast speed. And when your brain cranks with fast speed, it is dying to have the edge taken off. The edge being taken off, the number one way that you know how to do it is by watching porn or acting out. And what happens is you get this flood of dopamine that takes you from hyper-arousal very quickly into a hypo-aroused state. Numbed out, vegged out, brain being flooded in a dopamine bath. Very unhealthy for you to swing from these extremes. And the more often you do it, you're going to damage your brain. You're going to desensitize it, you're going to drop out the frontal lobe, and there's other ramifications for that. So how do we back it out? We back it out by staying away from the screen. You have to leave it behind. And one strategy that I've told a few people about this week, it's another Gestalt strategy. Gestalt meaning it's a therapeutic technique that connects your mind to your body, which is very healthy for people who are kind of wrapped up in a addictive sexual pattern. So what I want you to do is list all the benefits that pornography has brought to you over the years. And the older you are, there might even be more. It's been a de-stressor. It's filled your time when you're bored. It's taken the edge off. It's given you a place to go when you couldn't deal with the real world. The list goes on. And you're going to look at all those advantages and you're going to thank that experience. You're going to thank pornography for being there for you when you needed it. But it is time to heal your brain and to grow it up. And now it is time to say goodbye. And I encourage you in your journal, in your leather journal, to write down everything pornography has taken from you to date. And for many people, that is big. Jobs lost, divorces, children who won't talk to them, grandchildren never seen. It can be big. If your list is small, I am very glad, but I want you to know that those are some things that can happen in the future. But I want you to list what pornography is taken from you. And the list can be long. And even at a young age, if you're experiencing erectile dysfunction and your brain has been completely desensitized, the road back might not be that fast if you've really been, misusing pornography. And your brain can heal. I'm here to tell you, it can heal. But you have to leave the screen behind and you have to motivate yourself and remember why you're doing it. And you're doing it because of all the things that it's taken from you already and that it will continue to take from you. We know this from the science. This is a negative feedback loop. It gets worse over time if you don't interrupt the pattern. So when you interrupt the pattern, you will create a positive feedback loop. A brain that's working better, that gets you better behaviors, makes you feel better, keeps your brain in a healthy mode, and goes back and locks it in forever using Hebb's law. So write down what it's taken from you or what it might take from you in the future, and you have to say, adios, pornography. I am done with you. I no longer need you. Thank you for serving me in the past, but I'm going to find new ways to relax. I'm going to find new ways. I'm going to serve myself in a new way in the future as I become the person that I want to be. Okay, if you would like help on that journey, I actually have a totally awesome new website that is coming out next Tuesday, pornbrainreboot.org, the nonprofit that I've been working hard to create so that I can bring you more content and together we can heal your brain, rewire it so it works optimally, and so that we can pay that forward and help other people too. So you can still go to drtrishleigh.com next Tuesday, the new website that is going to explain a lot more of how the programs work and what they can offer you. And there'll be a new blog there so that you can get this content in a different format there. I have a new podcast that's coming out and the blog will be there, pornbrainreboot.org. And please reach out to me if you would like help in this journey because I am here for you for the long run. Okay, and remember, control your brain or it will control you.